Hi, I'm Suzan. Thank you so much for coming here and watching me and listening to me speak. I am very sorry. First of all, my apologies for being out for so long. If you are here still supporting me, I really want to thank you for your patience. And I am here giving you an update about where I have been and what is going on and what's happening in the world and how we can move forward better. So since I've been away, and it's been quite a while, I think a year and a half at least, I have moved across the country. So I was living in New York and now I am in California. I drove here in the middle of this crazy time, and that was really challenging. It took a lot of courage and guts for me to do that on my own. Packing up everything that I wanted to bring over and just heading over here. I felt very pulled to come here, and I felt my intuition pretty much said, this is where you need to go and this is what you need to do. And so I trusted and I'm here. And it's been a really transformational time. And transformation, as I'm sure you're aware, is a birthing process. Like when you give birth to a child, it's not always pretty, it's not always fun, right? It's sometimes very painful, but it's worth it in the end, because then you have a beautiful baby, a healthy baby to bring home and raise and have a family, right? Family is a very important thing, I think, for me and hopefully for you too. So I wanted to come on and say that I'm sorry for not being here and for not being consistent. And I am aiming to do better. I am aiming to structure my channel a lot better, to bring you important material, good content, truthful, right? Helpful and in our healing, because I'm a huge fan of self-development and self-discovery and self-mastery and self-healing. All healing is self-healing. Healing is just our way of integrating and becoming whole again. So healing is not about curing as much as it is about becoming whole. And so I'll probably be talking about that at some point a bit more. But I just wanted to come on and express my truth, our truth, right, to you all. It's been a very rough time. It's been a really challenging time for not only me, having moved across the country and starting a new life and transforming myself from the inside out, but it's been pretty much that for the whole world, with all the craziness that has been happening. And the reason why all of that is happening ultimately is good. Ultimately, it's always meant to happen the way it happens, right? And there's a reason behind all of that. What's happening is there's a spiritual war happening, and has been happening for a long time now. It feels like we're on the precipice, right, of that spiritual war within ourselves as well as in the world. I don't like talking about evil. I don't like talking about the darkness, but let's be real. It's true. It's real, right? We are in this dual universe, right, where there are forces. There are positive forces, and then there are negative forces. And these positive and negative forces are also within us. As above, so below. As within, so without. There's so much to this, right? And if you really want to understand this, you must meditate. You must contemplate. You must get in touch with your true self. which is always there. Your true self is who you are. Your true self is what you are. However, we, for the most part, don't really know what that is, don't know what that really means. And so we have different healing modalities that connect us with that a little bit more, that help us kind of get in touch with our true self, right? Hypnosis is a huge tool that I use, right? That I have used for myself and I also use for others. But let's face it, it's not going to work for everyone. And the reason is because if you don't trust your practitioner, you can't relax. And if you can't relax, you can't go into a deeper realm within yourself, within your own psyche, within your own soul. And I think that's what's really happening now. We are in the journey to knowing what the soul is, to knowing what it means to have a soul or to be a soul, right? The soul and spirit are fused together. And understanding that really requires a lot of introspection, which I love to do, but it's not the funnest thing to do, right? It's a lot of solitary time and energy, right? We have to go within, and going within really means not being so out in the world. And so that gets lonely. It gets lonely sometimes. However, when we do connect to our true self, there is no loneliness anymore. There's no aloneness. There's just nothing like that. It's only pure bliss. Because that's our true nature. Our true nature is bliss. Anything that's not that is a distortion. It is something that needs love and it needs healing. And it is up to us, through our free will, if we have any free will, to heal ourselves so we can all be our true selves, so we can all be our true blissful nature. Our nature, God nature, is love, divine, is bliss. It's consciousness. And consciousness is so multifaceted. It's so multifaceted that we can talk about it forever. And there's still more to talk about. And so one tool that I'll be speaking a whole lot about in this channel is astrology, because I feel it is probably, possibly, one of the best tools that we have in our disposal. We only have scratched the surface though. If you ever go to an astrologer and they say they're an expert, just run the other way, okay? Because I would not trust that person based on everything I have learned, everything I have studied. We are only scratching the surface. We are always learning more. And if we are an expert, that means that we're not wanting to learn more. And if we are not wanting to grow, we're not wanting to change, that leads to stagnation. And whatever stagnates decays. Just look at a stagnating pool of water, right? It's pretty gross. I wouldn't go in there, right? Ever. So just like that, if we stagnate within ourselves, we stop growing, we stop expanding, and we go into the death process. So we want to be alive. We want to be able to hone into our own vitality. And that might be a reason why I came to California, right? To San Diego. That's where I am. Because it's always, oh, it's not always, but it's usually sunny here. And sunny makes me happy. Because I can connect more with the vitality of the sun, with the sun's rays, right? And I have a very powerful sun, which we will talk about at some point, right? I also have a lot of lunar energy. And so I wanted to bring up the fact that I've been pretty consistent lately with my blogging, right? So I am updating on the energies every new moon and every full moon using the nakshatras, which are the asterisms, the constellations. In Vedic astrology, that's a huge thing. In Jyotisha, that's a huge thing. And so I have been into Western astrology, tropical astrology, but I'm also into Vedic astrology, Jyotish, right? And which is sidereal for the most part. And I like fusing things. I'm myself fused. I'm not, one breed. I am multitude of breeds. And I would implore you to go and see if you are that, because I'm pretty sure that you are. There is no such thing as a pure breed that I know of now in this state and age, or whatever the term is. Everyone is mixed with different percentages. And so it's based on that we kind of know who we are. That goes into the DNA structure, right? The DNA structure has a lot of dormant material that is hopefully coming online and awakening within us, because as the DNA strands heal, become whole again, and we get access to that dormant, latent power, I mean, that's why we're here, I believe, right? It's not only about working a 9-to-5 job and doing the same thing over and over and over again. Oh, what does that really bring us? It brings us absolutely nowhere. It's just like a loop, right? It's like a hamster wheel, right? I mean, it's great. If that's for you, wonderful. It's not for me. And so what's happening is a huge revolution, which we have been building up to this point. If you know astrology, you know that we have Uranus, right? And that's a Uranian energy or a Rahu energy. Sometimes even Ketu. Rahu and Ketu are one being. So we want to be able to see these energies, these archetypal energies, in order to not only understand what's happening in the world, but really understand what's happening here, and hopefully awaken things within us that have been sleeping, in a sleeping stage or dormant, right? As we move higher up into our consciousness, we get access to more information, which the sun symbolizes, because it is the light source that we have in this astronomical galaxy, right? So astrology is very important to me, and so that's what I'll probably be speaking about a whole lot here. Essential oils have become really, really important to me too. And so even though I don't want this channel to be about essential oils per se, I would like to speak about things that I have used that have worked for me and worked for others that I know. It's really about holistic wellness and well-being. What I'd like to focus mostly in, with a huge emphasis on self-discovery and self-development in order to master ourself, because that's really what I'm about, is about self-mastery. And what that looks like may not always be the best thing ever, right? It might actually have us make really hard choices. And I believe that we make hard choices in our life because we want to connect more to our true self, because we want to kind of decondition ourselves from what is not true, what is false, the false light, right? The false light you believe is good, you believe is positive, but it isn't. And that's the truth, right? Rudolf Steiner talks about this a lot. I have been studying theosophy for a while. I have been studying Rudolf Steiner's work too. And I don't focus too much on one or the other. I focus more on what's here. And that's the truth. And that's what I want to stress in these videos, in our discussions. If you come have a session with me, I'm always going to lead you back to yourself, just as I always lead myself back to myself. And eventually we know that the self, there's only one. There is no separation. And we're all beautiful pieces to the grand masterpiece, to the grand puzzle. But if we're trying to be a square when we're actually a circle, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We distort ourselves and we distort humanity. And I think that's a huge thing for me. I feel that I'm here to help humanity. And as I help myself, I am helping humanity. And I would like for you to contemplate on that. Contemplate on your belief systems, because the revolution that I'm speaking about, spiritual revolution that's happening, deals a lot with belief systems. Our belief systems are structured in a way that is based mostly on conditioning. It's based mostly on what we have learned through our childhood, from our parents, from our family, from our culture, the society, school systems. All of these structures have conditioned us to believe certain things, even books. I love reading books, right? I absolutely love books. But even books, we have to question, because they're ideas that may have been correct when they were written down, but they might not have that much substance now. And the only way for us to know that is by us connecting to our truth, to our divine truth, to our love divine. We have to connect our heart with our brain. Our heart and our head have to be one in order for us to experience oneness in humanity, in order for us to experience oneness within our world. We have to do that inner work. It's not going to work otherwise. It's never going to work otherwise. We have to be in touch with who and what we are in order to have a better experience in life. Not only for us, but for humanity as a whole. Each one of us has so much power if we dive deep into our self-transformation. Yes, transformation is hard, but it's worth it. And ultimately, everything is fine. Everything is fine. The chaos has been here for us to go back to ourselves, for us to connect to ourselves, for us to remove the negative patterns that are within us, that have been there from ancestral crap, quite frankly. Ancestral trauma has been coming up a lot in the past, probably specifically year, right? In order for us to move to a more holistic, more truthful, divine existence. The thing is that we have to question every belief system that we have ever had. In a way, we really need to become the blank slate, if that's possible. And I'm not sure if it is possible. Breaking up these patterns immense. And it takes so much time and energy. And for some of us, that's what we're here to do, right? And for some of us, we do a little bit at a time. We process a little bit at a time because that's all we can do, and that's okay. We have to have compassion with ourselves. We have to have self-care. So that's what I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to mention that this is Friday, July 9th, right? And at 6:16 p.m. Pacific or 9:16 p.m. Eastern Time, we are having a new moon in Punarvasu. And Punarvasu is about the return of the light, the return to goodness, the return to our true divine nature, to our truth. It's a new beginning because it's a new moon, right? And so the reason I do these lunar cycle updates in my blog, sacredconnections8.com, I'll link that below, right, is because I have a lot of lunar in me. In tropical astrology and Western astrology, my ascendant is Cancer, and the ascendant's actually more important than the sun sign. Can you believe it? It's true. So the ascendant in tropical for me is in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, and it's very emotional, and it's very intuitive, and it's sometimes wishy-washy, which is not what I want to be, but sometimes that happens because the moon waxes and wanes. It has different phases. So that's a huge part of my psyche, right? Based on that. In Vedic astrology, though, I am a Gemini Rising. And this is the fun fact, and the truth is that they both systems work. All systems work. I am absolutely passionate about all these different systems. Yes, they are structures, and the structures are there for us to use in order for us to grow, in order for us to know ourselves better, in order for us to heal and become one with the only truth. The only truth that is that our divine nature is love divine, is light divine. It's bliss. And so Punarvasu, where our new moon is happening tonight, is in that nakshatra. Punarvasu has a deity. Every nakshatra has a deity associated with it. A ruling god or goddess, if you will, right? What they are is archetypes. So the Aditi is the archetype that rules over Punarvasu. And that means it's really about returning to bliss, returning to truth, returning to prosperity and success. In my life, I have noticed that there is a theme of having to do things repeatedly. And that's probably because my ascendant, my rising sign, is in Punarvasu. Astronomically speaking, it's seen by the two bright stars of the constellation in Gemini called Castor and Pollux. And these, by the ancients, were termed either brothers or lovers, the twins. And Castor is more negative and Pollux is more positive. So even though we do things and they don't turn out just as we wanted them to turn out, if we do them again, it's usually successful. And that's what Punarvasu wants to show us. And so this new moon in Punarvasu is about returning to our truth, our success, our prosperity, our divine nature. There's a lot of relationship energy now because Mars and Venus are connecting, are conjoining. And Punarvasu has a lot to do with relationships, believe it or not, okay? And I can do a whole video on just one nakshatra called Punarvasu. There are 27 nakshatras, and I would love to do that in a series. But for now, I just wanted this to be an update and to let you know that if I'm ever missing, there's a good reason for that. A very good reason, obviously, right? Self-transformation takes time and takes energy. And as we are all experiencing a revolution on the outside plane, we're also experiencing it within. And that's tough. And I had to pull back my energy. I'm still pulling back my energy in a way and going back to what I need to do, what I need to focus on. And right now, what I need to focus on is bringing information to you that will be helpful and useful for you if you're watching. I thank you so much for being here and for supporting me as I've been transforming myself. And I hope that my new structure is beneficial for you. So thank you very, very much for being here and supporting me. And I will see you soon. I will have a structure and I will post it up because I want to make this community a true community. Thank you.